Good morning. Slightly sad news this morning. Orbea have been in touch and the rise is going back. So this is going to be my last videoed ride with the rise. I get to keep it for another few days. This will probably be the last ride out we do, so we need to make it a doozy. So I've learnt a few things when I've been mountain biking, not many, but the first one is the joy when you turn off the main road for the first time and you realise you're on little roads and very soon tracks. It's a thrill, particularly when you don't know where you're going. Like now, we're going, oh hello, no idea. Look how lovely it is up here. It's about 7 in the morning, so the light's always good. The moon is still up, look. And across there are all the mountains that we've done already since you've been watching these films. Let me tell you about Orbea then. It's not the end of the off-road adventure. Far, far from it. What they're doing is that they're taking back the rise and they're sending me their Kemen model. It looks to be quite a spectacular bike. It's an e-bike again, of course. It's got the same motor as this rise, but it's unregulated. So we'll be getting the full, I think 85 Newton meters of torque. So it's full powered, which is going to be exciting. But they are pushing it as a trekking bike. So I'm going to trek on it. Lost amongst all these peach plantations. It's quite difficult to follow the track because there are just so many tracks to follow. But I believe this is our next one. Now where are we? Ah, yes. No. Okay, that's pretty down that way. There's something I want to show you. This is an industrial estate. Yay! It was opened with quite a big fanfare. It must have been 10 years ago. And it's perfect. It's got street signs, benches, rubbish bins, plane trees for shade. It's got zebra crossings. It's got everything except industry. The entire rest of the place is completely empty. And yet it is finished. It's got the infrastructure. It's got everything. Street lights. But there's no one here. I guess just tried to launch it at the wrong time and there was a bit of a down tick in the economy, something like that. When I came off on that last one, I had lots and lots of very, very useful advice, not least from Jeff and Ohio Moto. Thanks guys. Basically about bike control. What I have been doing this last week when I haven't been riding, I'll tell you about that in a sec, is doing drills in the garden. It's just bike control, sort of slow speed stuff, getting used to unweighting the front and the rear of the bike so you can actually shift it around even if you've stopped. I'm not very good at it yet, but there's probably going to be opportunity to use it today. But the reason I've not been out riding is because I've been looking after the farm by myself. Mrs. Yakko has been in the UK and she's back. Here we go. This is the first proper climb of the day. It's not a race, it's an adventure. following a ridge to its very, very end. So we're heading for an Iberian settlement. Now the Iberians were here hundreds of years before the Romans, and this is one of the better preserved settlements that there is. Everyone used to take over the Iberians' settlements and rebuild them, build on top of them. Well, this one they didn't. I don't know why they didn't like it. It is quite remote, but then they all are. They were traders primarily, and that's because they were fantastic potters. So they made earthenware, which everyone needs. If you want to eat or drink, it's easier on a plate than with a cup. Warning sign basically says keep your thieving hands off the site. An entrance gate fortification that is approximately 2,800 years old. So the Iberians were traders. They understood how to trade. Now the people of Tortosa, all the way downstream, which at the time was the coastal city and port, very, 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 very big, bustling, rich trade centre. The trouble is, for all of the goods that came down the River Ebro, and it was everything that Spain produced came down the Ebro because it's such a long river. Tortosa, the town, the city, put a huge tax levy on anyone bringing goods to the city, and the city was where they embarked onto ships and took them off around the world. So Tortosa said, well, you need to give us a big wedge of cash because, you know, we're enabling you to do it. And everyone grumbled, but they had to pay up. Sorry, 2,800-year-old walls, these. It's a pretty good location, isn't it? Anyway, back to those cheeky Iberians. They thought, well, the river comes right past our big city. What if we established a land bridge to a different city on the coast, got in cahoots with them, and avoided Tortosa altogether and all its punitive taxes? And that's what they did. So they set it up so that all of the trade that came down this mighty river came up here first. And the taxes that the Iberians charged were very slight, and they arranged the whole thing to go over across the mountains behind me and down to the coast here, thus avoiding the huge taxes that the people of Tortosa were imposing. Oh, is this the official view? I love the fact there's no guardrails. This is where I should have stopped. It's possibly even nicer here, isn't it? Slightly clearer view of the river, certainly. Anyway, should we go and find a castle? An Iberian castle, no less. And get away from the edge. Now, it is 2,800 years old, so don't expect too much. But this is the Iberian castle. Of course, it isn't Iberian, because this was a useful strategic point. So though initially it was Iberian, this particular last bit of it is only 14th century. That's not the end of our journey, far from it, we've only just begun. Bashed my ankle in that on that ride, so standing on the pedals like this is a bit pretty painful actually, which is no good. What a beautiful road, what a lovely descent. Bit of a glutton for punishment. We've got to 5-kilometre climb now. It's absolutely lovely. Not really having a clue where I am. No idea of the route. Just following my little paper trail on the Garmin. But I thought I'd stop, have a quick breather and show you the landscape that I'm cycling through. I'm on a ridge again. It's quite a long way down there. And these are the mountains surrounding Tbilisi. Now don't blame me, blame Neil. Because Neil's comment about my sandals last week was they're even better without socks. Now I was concerned that that was more Neil being a fashionista, but he might have a point. It is possibly even more airy, and that sounds logical, but I found that when you put socks on, it seems to increase the airflow moving over your feet. Hardest bit so far. I never quite put the camera on in time for you to see the very, very worst bits. Absolutely lovely, isn't it? I got a funny feeling this is one of Mountain Man Dave's routes. If you're watching it, Dave, is this one of yours, mate? Absolutely loving this. Here's a good time to mention it. I can't quite remember when I used the phrase ride happy, but other people noticed. And one is my friend Vintage Sprockets, and she has just bought herself an e-road bike. She's called it Happy, so she can ride happy. I thought that's absolutely brilliant. I'm looking forward to seeing how you get on with that, Vintage. Got a long way to go. We've got all sorts of wonderful trails like this to make our way around. A single truck at last. I'm just on another track in the middle of nowhere, and it is fantastic. I have no idea where I am. There's no trees for starters. There's always trees. I love finding these little trails and tracks. It's exploring at its very, very best. Looks like we're going to go down into a dry river bottom, a barrank. That'll be hairy. But like I said, we're on the very last legs of the battery. So I wanted to use this opportunity, if it is one and it hasn't already turned off, to say thanks for coming along on these journeys on the rise. I'm sorry I couldn't get it for longer, but it's been an absolute blast, and if you've got the money, you should buy one. They are just the best fun you can have on a bike. And with that, and until the next one, which probably will be from the back of a Orbea Kemen 10, can look those up in the meantime. All I can say is thanks for watching.